from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeartStation.
Tonight's episode of Conversations with Coach La is brought to you by Virtual Services by Shamina Austin. Do you need to delegate some tasks, or are you looking to declutter a space? Well, assign it to her. Introducing Virtual Services by Shamina Austin. She's currently accepting new clients and offers a variety of back office services depending on your needs. Contact Shamina at 857-273-1528, 857-273-1528, or email shaminaaustin@gmail.com for more information.
Conversations with Coach La.
Coach La, your favorite neighborhood therapist, having real hard convos, contrasting pessimists, generational trauma explored, broach delicate, getting to the root of the pain, healing impediments. Every week signs copay free lessons. Bet on self, trust the process, no questions. Feel your feels, journey to be healed, no stressing. Conversations with Coach La's now in session.
Hey, how y'all feeling? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. Hey y'all, how y'all feeling out there? Happy Sunday, everybody. It's been a busy week as usual for me. Want to give another shout out to Mr. Marv Neal. Last week he had a birthday. I forgot to say that last week because there was just so much going on. Y'all know I had my cousin who passed away last week. We just had a lot. It was a lot happening. This has probably been a slower weekend for me. I got a chance to just kind of kick back and relax. I've been binge watching some shows. I've really been in my soft girl ever, soft life, you know? Mm-hmm. Being able to just relax and do nothing is such a gift. Yes, I was doing absolutely nothing this weekend. So I'm really excited about that. But you guys know Boston has Black radio, right? And we are Urban Heat. I want to give a shout out also to the new edition. They have reached the #1 spot on the leaderboard for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I have to give a big shout out to us, all of us NE lifers, and you know, the Rizettes and the Riders, and you know, we just did our thing. So I'm really proud of them. And shout out to the Urban Heat. Marv Neal and Dita Weeda did a tribute rap song for them. And also we got our own new theme song too that Marv Neal hooked up to T.I.'s new Let 'Em Know song. So I'm sure y'all might have heard that. But you know, it has changed temperatures here in Massachusetts. I don't know where we are now. It seems like it's about 40 degrees outside. We had 65-degree weather, and now it's cold again. We got to turn the heat on. I'm really over this. So we got a couple more weeks before it's officially spring. March 20th will be officially spring, and I'm looking forward to that because I will be back in the gym. Hold me accountable. My little winter hibernation will be up, and it's time to get ready for these 5Ks and get this last 80 pounds off, y'all. So some of you might know, 2 years ago I was at about 390 some odd pounds. As of today, I weigh 262 pounds. And the goal is to get under 200. So I am pushing to get to about 180, 190. So I got some work to do. So y'all keep me encouraged. If y'all want to work out, you want to walk, hit your favorite around the way therapist up. So what are we talking about tonight? We are talking about soft era, your soft girl era. And that's with boundaries because we are still in Women's History Month. So I have a special guest that's going to help me have this conversation. Because you know, every time we have a conversation on Conversations with Coach La, it's about healing, meeting strategy, right? And every conversation is an invitation for you to bet on yourself. So you know, every guest that I bring is all about giving you nuggets and giving you tools to be able to do just that, to bet on yourself. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about tonight's guest. For one, she's a powerful speaker. She is dynamic. She's a mom. She's an accomplished author and a community leader. She has a public health background, and she's dedicated to empowering individuals and transforming communities. She has a robust academic background, y'all. Now, not only does she have a bachelor's of science in criminal justice, this girl was summa cum laude. Clock that T, right? Now, I don't know if I'm gonna mess this name up, but it's tell me how to say this.
Rasmussen University.
Rasmussen University, right? She also has an associate's degree in early childhood education from Bay State College. And baby, she was the president of that program. So she ain't playing around, okay? Not at all. And then she recently also received her master's degree in public health from Rasmussen University as well in 2023. She's a mother of 3, and she deeply understands the challenges that families face, especially those that have been impacted by domestic violence. Her personal experiences with sexual assault, which I hate hearing that. Too many of our sisters, too many women in general, and men too, have experienced sexual assault, believe it or not. And domestic violence fuel her passion for advocacy and activism. Known for her optimism and charisma, she is a beacon of hope for survivors, using her lived experiences to guide her work in addressing the domestic violence epidemic that affects countless communities. Now, I'm gonna keep going because this lady, okay, she didn't stop there. She's also the dedicated founding member of Massachusetts statewide coalition track, where she mitigates public policies that affects the lives of victims and survivors seeking legal protection. I think that's so important to understand the importance of having people like Shaquera at the table when they're talking about policies, right? She's also part of a steering committee. She's a member of the Lower Roxbury Coalition's Wellness Initiative, where she collaborates with community partners to develop comprehensive support services for families and children in need. Now, I ain't finished. She also serves as a community engagement specialist for Massachusetts Community Engagement Alliance, which is funded by the National Institute of Health at Boston Medical Center, where she works to enhance public health outreach and engagement. She's also a consultant, clock that T, with an organization such as Follow Suit, which does great work with youth, where she serves as the vice president, and then Danger Star Awareness, where she reflects her commitment to uplifting others. Shaquera has designed and delivered impactful domestic violence awareness trainings and workshops, leaving a lasting imprint on the community she serves. Through her political campaign, volunteerism, and initiatives that provide essential resources like cost-free mentorship for survivors, graduate students seeking their MPH, and law students with a passion for learning how their work can break cycles of intergenerational violence. Shaquera actively works to dismantle some systemic barriers and foster collaboration among community members, public and community entities, as well as stakeholders. Honey, clock that T. The girl is busy. She needs nothing but love and support because she is an active community member. She does big things. And I'm about to bring her on the virtual couch so she can say hello to everyone. What's up, girl?
Hey, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
You
I'm
busy,
all right.
honey?
I'm busy.
You busy. Now make sure you come this way a little bit.
Come a little bit more.
Come this way. Come towards me. Yes,
Towards
a little
you.
bit more. A little bit more.
More?
Yeah,
More?
yeah.
Okay.
You're right in the camera.
Okay.
Awesome sauces.
All right.
Listen,
we in
honey.
the camera.
I just love hearing my sisters doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
You do phenomenal work,
Mm-hmm.
and you always making sure we stay informed. So, what's something we don't know about Miss Shaquera's story? Something that's going to be surprising before we get into these questions. What's something that would be, well, folks will be like, I didn't know that about her. That's not in your bio, not on your website. Something interesting, quirky, funny, different.
Ooh.
Yeah, who is Shaquera's story outside of all of this?
So outside of all of this, I love hip hop. I love hip hop.
Okay.
I love to dance. But I gotta have a couple adult juices to get comfortable with dancing nowadays. I think I've entered the dating. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but we're gonna find out.
All right, well, I got a little crush too. They've been coming for Coach. I don't know. I'm all right with it.
We're gonna see.
Come on over here.
Other than that,
yeah.
I mean, I'm an open book. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy being a mom. I love all those things. But what something somebody wouldn't know is I really do enjoy dancing, and I go to another place when I'm dancing. So when I get the opportunity to be that and do that, I do that. So other than that, that's it.
Okay, so this is a little bit off topic. What's the most ratchet song that you dancing to right now?
Oh, what's that song? Take me through that. Take me through that.
I like that one too.
I like that one.
What's that new one by the baby? Shout out to Shanta. Her daughter right now is in his new video.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's called Pop That something.
Oh, I don't know that one. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it's called Pop That. It's by the baby. It's definitely very, very. Listen, y'all, all y'all young people, we can't talk. You know, they got this trend going on right now. Mom, what was you like in the 90s? Just know our music was just as bad.
Yeah.
You know, my father was like, hold up, you can't play that. Put it in your what?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, look, that's one of my favorites.
You know, so you used to throw lips at what?
That's one of my favorites too.
Listen, but you know, it's good to stay connected to your youth.
That's
I
right.
mean, for a lot of people, we just as we get older, we just take life way too serious, and we gotta have fun. I know people have given people like Tyler Perry a hard time over his new movie because it is, you know, it's a little.
I haven't seen it.
It's funny, right? What's the name of it? Go ahead, Mom.
I forgot the name.
Something road trip. Anyway, Tyler Perry got a new movie and it's a little risque. And recently, I just posted a video too where I was, you know, doing a little.
When you was doing a little twerking,
little dancing, and Cat Williams is dropping the N word and some swears and stuff. And you know, I was a little reluctant to post it, like, you're the favorite around the way therapist. People are gonna side eye this, but the whole point of it was
you're a whole person.
Yes, and the whole point of it was to live your life. You
That's
can't
right.
continue to live your life according to everybody else's standards. Sometimes you gotta just not take everything so seriously. Like lighten up, get your boxes out the bunch.
Gotta live a little bit.
Live a little bit. Have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Right. So tonight, you know, we're talking about the soft life, right? And some people may or may not know, but most of the people who've been listening for a while, I've been doing this show for 3 years, and this is season 9.
Okay.
And season 9 has been all about milestones. We've been talking about motherhood. We're talking about manhood. We're talking about healing through transition. And I thought it was a good idea to really start to think about strategies as we move into these milestones. I turned 50 this year.
Whoa.
I turned 50 this year.
Don't look nothing like 50.
Thank you.
That's how.
And you know what's so interesting is what I thought 50 looked like as I've gotten there is nothing compared to what it is now, right? I just have a whole new respect for aging.
That's right.
But with that, there's a lot of pressure on where you should be when you hit these milestones. And I was hoping that we could kind of like talk about the soft life with boundaries, right? Because this is a new, you know, pop culture, pop therapy.
Yeah,
we're talking about soft life, and a lot of people are misunderstanding what that means. But I think because this is Women's History Month, and especially for Black women, we have consistently been in a space of being strong, to the point that I think it's really impacted our mental health. It's put us in some unhealthy relationships because we're trying to be strong to hold all spaces for everyone except for ourselves. That I wanted to talk about that. Soft life with boundaries. Softness is not a weakness.
That's right.
Because I think sometimes the first thing we think of is if you're soft, then you're not strong. If you're soft, then you're weak. But it's actually intentional peace.
That's right.
It's emotional intelligence.
That's right.
And it's strategic protection of your well-being, which I think is in alignment with the work that you do with really helping survivors, right, regain their power.
That's right.
You know, especially when it's been taken away. And then I think there's a hypervigilance to be harder or to even be stronger when you've gone through something like that. So tell me, from your perspective, and then I'm going to jump into these questions. When you think about soft life, what do you think about? What does that bring up for you?
When I think about soft life, for me as a Black woman, I think about the ability to be naked in my true self in any room without flaw, without condition, without worry, without fear. And really accepting who I am and all of who I am. I've been saying this a lot to people. Make sure you love you in real life, because the internet is really not a real place. And for some people, when we talk about the soft life, we a lot of folks look at what they see on the internet and they interpret it as, okay, so I'm not really living a soft life because I'm not doing that thing. The soft life is really what you choose to do, whether it's sitting on your, couch for the weekend, like you said, and doing nothing. It could be that, or, embracing something that is, something you thought about that you didn't think you could do on your own. I think that's part of the soft life, because a lot of times we've been conditioned to believe we can't go too far without having company, whether it's a friendship, a sisterhood, a relationship. And so I just been cool with just doing me by myself, and that's honestly been a part of my soft life. Putting on my low candles, closing my door, and just being to myself. So it looks different for everybody.
I think that's a great point, that it is not just about doing the thing, because you'll think it's about trips, spending money, or someone coming and taking care of you, and you sort of not having to take care of yourself. And I think that sends a different message, right? Like, I want to be in my soft girl era, and it's always connected to a romantic partner or partner
right.
coming in and making your life easier, right? But how do you make your own life easier, right? So let's talk about your personal journey. One of the things that I wanted to really understand is your work in the public health and the advocacy. It's deeply personal, right? And I know that there's a lot of reasons why you're in that space. So how did your lived experience really shape your work, the work that you do today?
When it comes to my personal journey, for me, this is passion work, right? It's both a personal journey and it's also a spiritual journey. My lived experience definitely shapes 100% of what I do. I have been an open book about my experiences as a victim of child sexual abuse, and also experiencing intimate partner violence as an adult. And those experiences really shape my idea about what relationships mean, and how they carry you through, and also to how you see yourself. Because I also have to recognize that I played a role in how long I stayed, right? Because like to your point you made earlier about wanting to, or thinking that you could do all the things and somebody was going to love you a little hard if you just did a little more. But for me, it was all of those things. Also to navigating these different systems, whether it was the criminal legal system, the child welfare system, just trying to find safety. Those are some things that, contribute to this personal journey. More specifically, in 2017, when I was finally able to be okay with being open about what was happening to my children and me, I was then forced to live these dark truths out loud. And that was a hard thing to do as a Black woman and someone who was perceived to be strong and had it all together. I now have to say, I'm going through this thing and I need help to get out of it. That was a struggle in and of itself. That forced me to, identify myself first and where I stood in this, and really being able to look at me and be honest with myself. And then having to really look at my children and recognize the harm that was caused to them. And then having to navigate between, did I cause this 100% on my own, or what role did I play and what role did the individual play? So those were things that really drive this personal journey, because I don't want anybody else's child to have to go through what my children went through. And then also too, just, I've been saying this a lot lately, recognizing the people who came when I was in darkness, right? And being able to be that beacon of hope for somebody else, and helping someone else to realize that there is life on the other side. But for me, I always wonder, what do people see when they look at me? Because I hear a lot, you're Superwoman, you can do all things, you don't go through nothing. They think my life is just perfect. It's really not. I'm really just a human, and I'm still going through a lot of things. So this work has really caused me to look at myself as a whole person, and really look at how I got here, regardless of the accolades and all the things that you said with my bio. It took a lot of self-work. It took a lot of self-work. It took a lot of being okay with people being wrong and loud and wrong about me, and having these wrong ideas about who I am and who I used to be compared to what I went through. Some folks said, oh, she used to be this. She used to always be fighting. I don't believe her. It happened. It's true. And I don't owe anybody an explanation. So this work is deeply, deeply personal.
Thank you for sharing that, Shaquera. I think a lot of us, because I too have a background of going through a domestic situation, violence. And when you say violence, like there's levels to it,
That's
right?
right.
And so
That's
a lot
right.
of times people think, well, you know, you was getting, you know, dragged out, you know, you was beat
They
up,
think of the
bloody.
movies, how it happens
Right,
in the
and
movies.
it's not always that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I remember my son's father in particular, like, why are you always, you know, making it just so dramatic? It's not that serious. I'm like, dude, you pull me by my hair, or you do any of, you know, any of those type of things, that is not okay, right? Like that's, I don't care if you think, okay, you just hemming me up. It's not okay.
Right.
So it's like when you start to say that, people then look at you like you was really allowing somebody to treat you that way. So it takes a lot to do that. And some of the messaging that we get as women in terms of masculinity, often initially, and I'll speak for myself, you're like, oh, well, I was wrong for that. And I was young then too. I was like, I was wrong for that. You know, he won't do that again. I just gotta, you know, make sure I'm not disrespectful, right? And so a lot of times you don't say anything to anyone because you kind of feel like, you know, I'm a little feisty. I got a mouth on me, as they used to say. You know, you're loud. You know, so you kind of, you know, you brought that on yourself. It's interesting, those narratives that come out, and when you think about, again, this idea of being a soft girl, often is being obedient, and then you think about submission and how that can so closely twist and turn to something else.
Listen,
and no one wants to talk about that part, right? And I think when we're thinking about Women's History Month, we can't just not talk about some of the dynamics that we face, not just in heterosexual relationships, because this is happening in you know, same-sex relationships too, in terms of power dynamics.
Yep.
Right? And the idea of softness also can scream, be quiet, be demure, and you know, listen.
Right.
You're not talking back, right? You know, all these type of things, and I think it can send a message that often could lead people into some unhealthy relationships if you don't fully understand. Submission should not be forced.
That's right.
It should be something that you feel safe in.
Well, submission happens when we feel safe, right?
But not everybody gets that, right? You know, some people use force and aggression to get submission,
right?
And that's a whole different type of conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation,
right?
But those are some of the things that I experienced. You know, going into that relationship, I was single for a very long time. And I was just sure, like, you know, when you send me somebody else, and then I'm gonna be like this right here, I'm gonna be soft, I'm gonna do all. And I was doing that, running the bath water, cutting the lemons and the limes, and putting it in the shower, putting the milk in it, like all the things, cutting the hair, all the things. And I was doing that for somebody that was a straight monster behind the scenes, and not realizing until it happened again and again. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So you took my softness to mean that I was weak, because the person had already known about the old me. So you was expecting something else, and that's when you just figured, we're gonna do this, and she gonna respond this way, and I'm gonna go my way. But it didn't happen that way. So yeah, to your point, you know, for some people being soft, they perceive it as we're weak, and that's not it. Because right now I'm in the most softest girl ever. Like, you cannot get me to, unless you do a certain thing. Other than that, you can have it.
Right.
You can have it.
Yeah, and I mean, they also talk about, you know, for women of color, I think more importantly, we are often seen as hard, you know, aggressive, difficult to deal with, you know, the B word. And we often are not perceived as soft. So I also think some of that is giving us permission to step into our femininity. Right. To put down the bags and to be able to ask for help.
That's right.
Right. To be able to say, I don't got it. To be able to say no.
And to be able to say, I'm not okay.
And I'm not okay, right? Like, so I think there is a lot of good that's coming out of this whole idea of the soft girl era. Is like, no, I'm not doing all the things. I want to be helped. I want to be taken care of. So I think that there's pluses and minuses to it, but there's got to be balance.
Yeah, we got to have balance, because at the end of the day, if you're not happy in what you're choosing, then it ain't gonna work, right? Yeah. And then that's where we start to go into behaviors and ideas about ourselves that we are trying to overcome because we're trying to do something different. But if you can't see yourself outside of what you were and what you were accepting, then how can you envision having better? Right. The other piece is, for a lot of women that I've been talking to, it's like, I've never been able to be a soft girl. I've been hard my whole life. I don't know how to do it. How do you start?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they think how you start is, okay, in my next relationship. And it's like, no, baby. You
do it
start
now.
with you.
Right. So one of my questions, right? So
Mhm.
survivors, because you just kind of segued us very well.
Mhm.
Survivors often carry both
Mhm.
strength and invisible wounds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot to be able to even get on the other side of this.
Mhm.
What does healing look like beyond survival? Because I've been talking about this in trauma survival. Sometimes those things become shields.
Yeah.
And we get stuck there.
Yeah.
And we're becoming more of a society that we explain everything through a trauma lens. And I think that that's not allowing people to grow, because it almost is another way of saying, this is just why I'm like this.
Mhm.
You know, this is just how I am. You got to understand, I went through this and I went through that. Which, how do we grow?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
from your perspective, what does healing look like beyond survival?
Oh my gosh. So healing can look like beyond survival is simply choosing ourselves first. Right? Starting there. And there's so many different ways to start this healing journey. And while I say simply, I also understand that it's hard for so many of us to just do that, right? It isn't easy from the beginning or the end, because we're still trying to navigate something that's new until we get comfortable with this new beginning. And speaking from a Black woman's perspective and learning when to put the cape down, to your point, learning to be okay with not always being the strong one, learning to be okay with being vulnerable and transparent, and allowing the love and the light. And those are some of the ways that we can heal as survivors. And trauma has a way of making us believe that when it's happening, we're on an island and it's only happening to us. Mm-hmm. It's only happening to us. And so for that, I say, healing can look like having to face ourselves in order to truly embrace the healing journey, and understanding that healing is not linear. It is a personal journey that does not look the same for everyone, and that healing is a phenomenon of ideas and behaviors and the intentional work to ensure that we get to the other side of our traumas. Mm-hmm. So it looks very different for all of us. Oftentimes people think, I want to do that thing because if I do that thing, I saw how it worked for that person, so I want to do it like that. Right. What I love about the approach that I take and my team takes is that we really individualize the healing journey and the safety net for survivors in an individualized way. We look at the whole person, and we look at what they're coming with, whether they have children, what their educational experiences are, what their personal ideas are about how to get to the other side, and what they want to see happen in terms of outcomes. And so for everybody, it looks very different. For some people, it looks like isolation, like I don't want to be bothered with none of the people who got me here in the first place, or none of the people who never believed me in the first place. Or it could look like, someone being very attached early on because they don't know how to be by themselves. It can look really different. Healing is one of those things that is very, I would say it's very challenging for some people, because oftentimes some people don't even know that they're healing. They'll keep saying, I'm in this space, and then they talk about the things that they're doing, and then they realize after talking to somebody else, you've been on the healing journey, you're doing the work. But because you keep raising the bar, I seen a quote the other day, you keep raising the bar, not realizing that you're actually doing the work. So I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about the people who are constantly going and not recognizing and being present in the moment that you're actually doing. It doesn't look like somebody else's thing, but you're getting there.
It's so true. And I think, you said earlier that, social media or is not a real place.
No.
And, I'm going to push back a little and say, I'm on there, you're on there. And we share a lot of information that I think is very real. And I think you just have to decipher.
That's right.
Right. What's on your timeline.
That's right.
And what you're consuming. Because in any place, even out here, what we call real, there's a lot of people who ain't real. Right? There's a lot of spaces and places that are not authentic. And I think that becomes really hard, I think, for survivors, especially because usually this is somebody you trusted, somebody you love, and then they just do a 360 on you. If family betrays you and does something to you, it's hard to be able to trust anything. Because if my mama can do me dirty, if my daddy can do me dirty, if my biological family, if the man that I lay next to can all of a sudden turn around and treat me like that, how can I expect anybody to be who they say they are? So I think that, we have to think about, and you said this too, about what roles we play and the signs possibly that we see. And if somebody is actively trying to mislead you, it can be hard. I'm not going to say that even with doing this, that you can't still get gaslit or potentially meet somebody who's not who they say they are. But I know for me, there was a lot of warning signs that I ignored. There was people who told me things that I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to see for myself, right? And so I have to acknowledge that stubbornness and that unwillingness to take advice from people who try to guide me, right?
Well, it's hard to listen to people you don't trust, right? I also want to piggyback and go back to me saying that the internet is not a real place. I say that for the people who pretend to be something that they're not. I say that for the messages that are put out there to deter people from the real truths and deter people from really getting to the information, the resources that they need to make the changes that they want, right? I also say that because people can get on the internet and be anything they want to be. And with that, you have people who are navigating the internet blindly. And so they start to believe things because if you got 50 people saying you that person, the people believe you that person. And so that's why I say the internet's not a real place. I also should have said that you have to do your homework because I'm on there all the time and I'm sharing updates because I have people who follow me in real life. So for the people who are watching, I want you to know my life is a true story. You see me posted and I'm talking about me personal, that I'm telling you the truth, right? So a lot of times I share memes because either it's part of a conversation that was had or there's some truth behind it I think needs to be said. Or I also think that, this is what might resonate with somebody else. It's not always because it's a part of something that I'm going through. Right. That's what I mean about it's not a real place because people watch me. I've had people say, well, I've never seen you on a date. Are you gay? Are you a lesbian? Because they think whatever they see on the internet is my life.
Right.
That's what I mean by that.
But I think it is a real, everything around us tangibly is real.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
How you interpret it and your perception of what you're consuming.
That's right.
We all need to elevate a little bit and realize that that's only one element of someone's life.
That's right.
Right? It's not that it's not real. It's just one element of their life. You get to choose what you want people to know. At work, right? You could say, you know what? Work's not a real place. Not everybody's letting you see every element of who they are. And at work, people code switch all the time. Who you see in that boardroom is not who you is necessarily at home or around their friends. So I think we just, when we say certain things, because language matters.
Of course.
People then keep saying that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm on there. A lot of people aren't on there. I'm definitely a real person, but I'm not telling you every fit part that's going on in my life.
Of course.
So does that make me not be a real person? Do I have to therefore go on there? And then people do that, we're all side-eyeing. You're using it like a diary. Like you need to tell us every thought that you have.
I get you.
So I think that there's this, that just everything for me is about balance, right? And I think we all have the right to decide what elements of our life we want to disclose.
Absolutely.
No matter if it's work, no matter if you're dating, you get to decide, am I comfortable enough to share with you? But back to what I was saying, these were people that I trusted. I just was like, well, I'm a see for myself. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been not with everything, but relationships more. I'm like, well, I'm going to give them the benefit.
If you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, I hear you, but I haven't seen that yet. I want to give them, let me figure it out. And then I'm like, damn, they told me. They told me about your behind. They pre-warned me. And now I'm all caught up, So anyway, on my next segment, we're gonna segue because I'll just go on a whole tangent.
That's okay.
So I appreciate you for giving me grace.
No problem.
So what does therapy mean to you? Which brings us to the boundaries in the mental health part, right? And many survivors struggle with setting boundaries because safety was once uncertain. So how can survivors begin rebuilding a sense of agency, right? And when we talk about agency, that's self-agency for those that don't know, right? That's ability to, one, get your power back and feel grounded in your own body. When someone does that to you, it just really takes away, it makes you anxious. Let's just say what it is, right?
And that's where that anxious attachment comes
in. Right,
in.
you're very, but anxious attachment can sometimes be there before you get into that relationship.
Mhm.
But once you have somebody violate you in a way like that and you didn't know it was coming, you're on eggshells and you're just
Yeah.
really guarded.
Yeah, definitely.
Really guarded. So, how can you rebuild that? What are some of the things that you have worked with your clients to do to help them get there?
For me, for survivors that are watching, survivors can begin rebuilding a sense of agency in many ways. One I would recommend is forgiving ourselves for the things beyond our control, letting go of the ideas we created about ourselves that we did something to warrant the negative behaviors of someone else. Inner child healing has taught me that for so long I was who I had to be in order to survive. And then setting boundaries is something I'm embracing in my 40s. And I wish I had this discipline when I was younger because I definitely did not. For the survivors who are watching, rebuilding our lives in plain sight does not come with an on-off button, a manual of instructions, or the village that it can take to feel seen, supported, believed, valued, and whole again. It is a series of awakenings where we center ourselves spiritually and choose ourselves for the first time every single time. We are okay with folks being loud and wrong about who we are in real life. And despite where we come from, we are learning to embrace people who hear us when we become silent. When life becomes overwhelming because we are here, when life becomes overwhelming because here we are meeting versions of ourselves for the first time, we are comfortable expanding and using our voices to remind the world that we are still here. Setting boundaries for survivors is not about not letting anyone in, but rather is about being cognizant of the red flags that we talked about. The red flags at this time that comes without this fear of losing people, right? Sometimes we don't want to see the red flag because it's like, well, I just started liking him. I just started liking her. If I say that, they might back up. So healing and setting boundaries looks very different depending on the trauma that has happened to you. Because sometimes the experience itself can be so traumatizing that even with the support and even with the re-acknowledgement that you're going to be okay, it might not feel like that until you're finally in a place of feeling like that. It also is a matter of really retraining our minds to think that we're no longer in that space of trauma. And as I said before, when trauma happens and there's no healing process, we're stuck in that element. And sometimes it's hard to get out of that when we don't have the right resources.
Yeah, so there's a great book called The Body Knows the Score. And once you've gone through something, your body remembers.
That's right.
Just like for me, I'm scared of dogs, right? I've gotten better, right? But once you've had something happen, your mind will immediately remember that that's something that you need to be afraid of, or something that's not safe. Right. And then what happens is it doesn't even have to be, I can just hear a dog bark, right? It doesn't even have to necessarily be that it's where I can see it.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, right, as we are navigating this place of healing and people wanting relationship, wanting connection, because it's both men and women that are struggling with the stuff that happened in previous relationships, on how do we do that? Like, how do you set the stage with the next partner? Do you say, you know what, well, my last partner was very abusive, and what's that like? For a lot of people, they don't want to lead with that in every relationship, saying that I was a survivor of this, right? Like, because we talked about this before, we do this work, so that means we're constantly talking about it, right? And so you're reliving it, right? People are asking you questions.
Absolutely.
How do you get to a place in your body where you're comfortable enough to talk about something so traumatic and be okay?
That's a hard question because it requires work, right? You have to be willing to do the work. For some people, and I can speak for myself, there's still some things that trigger me. Sudden loud noises, I cannot do still. I'm just now being comfortable being in a dark room, closing my door. I still cannot be in a basement. My son coming from behind me, I'm okay a little bit now. Just those sudden, things that I'm not expecting that just, seem like it's taking over my power to be okay in my own body. That's a struggle, right? And it takes some time to get there. Will it ever go away? I don't know.
Right.
Am I doing the work? Absolutely.
Well, can we talk about what some of the work that you do? I know as a therapist, some of the things that I work with clients on really being able to breathe.
That's right.
Right? Similar to me noting, okay, this
Mhm.
dog is all the way up the street.
Yeah.
It's on a leash.
Yeah.
It has an owner.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't look vicious.
Mhm.
Okay, breathe.
Mhm.
Like I have to do cognitive restructuring and reframing to remind myself that I've already gotten through that.
Yeah.
I've survived 100% of my worst days.
That's right. That's right.
That happened when I was like 7,
Mhm.
and it was a little chihuahua, and it just grazed the back of my leg, and didn't get no blood out. Like, but I just remember, and you know,
it happened.
Right. There was a while where I didn't like walking around in the neighborhood because I remember as a kid, people leaving their dogs and the dogs would chase us.
Wow.
Right. So I didn't want to like walk around in the neighborhood because I'm like, people don't chain their dogs up. So I was always getting chased by a dog and jumping on a car. So dogs were unpredictable.
Yeah.
But I realized that also had a lot to do with the owners, and it had a lot to do with the owners.
Yeah.
Not everybody trains their dogs that way. So as I've gotten older and got more information, that's helped me get more comfortable being around certain dogs.
Yeah.
And I also communicate, can you please, hold your dog and put
your
your dog on a leash.
Right.
And if the owner honors that, that also lets me feel safer around their dog. So these are the things that I've done to work on that. And I know it's totally different, but there's a lot of similarities because that's PTSD.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's trauma. So what are some of the things that you've done to do the work for you, or what do you suggest your clients do to do the work?
Recognizing that you're in a safer space, that the individual who caused you harm is not in the space, and also recognizing that you can self-advocate, and setting those boundaries and doing that vocally, right? And you can do it, in body language as well. But knowing that you don't have to allow anything in your space that's going to compromise your safety. That's the first thing. Oftentimes you hear me say to people, use your voice, right? I want to help you to navigate, but I cannot speak for you. So being able to say, actually, I don't like that, or that's not what I said, or I rather this and not that. Or I require these things to feel safer or to get where I'm trying to go in terms of my survivorship. And so self-advocacy is number one, and that's whether you're a survivor or not, right? Being able to speak up and say, actually, this is not going to work for me, or, that was fine until it's not. The other piece is you spoke about the breath work. I can tell you when I first started working out, my trainer would be like, breathe. And I'm not realizing that I'm holding my breath and not breathing. And that all is a part of that PTSD and trauma. So knowing your triggers and how you respond to certain things, I think that's also helpful in terms of like how to get to this place of feeling safe in your own body. And then also too, being okay with not being in places that trigger you. Being okay with not going to those places that remind you of the trauma that happened. Even to this day, I'm on a certain highway. I'm like, oh, I remember this right here. And I have to remind myself, he's not here. You're safe. You're going where you're going on your own, and you're going to get back home safely. So it's having those pep talks with yourself. And oftentimes I refer that to people as whoever you were at the time of that trauma, talk to that person and remind them, we're going to get through this. We're going to be fine. We're going where we're going, or whatever the case may be. So that way you can understand in that moment that you're safe and you're okay. The breath work works, counting, humming, swaying, just different things. But again, it varies for different people.
Right. Great point. So the takeaway really is around learning self-regulation tools and really reminding yourself that you are a survivor. I mean, you're a thriver.
That's right.
I like to say.
That's right.
So in your advocacy work, and we kind of touched on this already, we're often holding space for other people's pain, right? As a therapist, I'm doing that. And as an advocate, you're doing that often. So how do you protect your own mental health by doing this work?
More and more these days, I'm saying I can't do something that I'm not willing to do. That's going to compromise my time as a mom. That's going to compromise my time to self-care, or even just my time to just pause. Because to your point, we often are carrying people so much that we don't know how to pause. And so I've learned to be okay with not being the one who has to answer the call all the time, deferring my excellence to somebody else. And I have an amazing team. So I'm able to fall back on them, and our team continues to grow. So knowing that I can breathe and I can sleep at night. Our phone line rings 24/7. And after a certain time, I'm able to be like, okay, I don't have to worry about it. Even though I still check it, but knowing how to set those boundaries for myself because I know what I require. I know how much sleep I need. I know I need to eat. I know I need to prioritize myself. And so those are some of the things that I'm doing, but really allowing the folks around me who truly love me and see me to do the things that they want to do in terms of helping me to carry the load because it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of up and down emotions because to your point earlier, we oftentimes have to relive what we've experienced when we're talking about it for so long and going over certain things. So I've learned to listen to the individual and not start to conceptualize, okay, I remember that. I remember it's not about me in the moment, right? I'm working with this individual and we're focusing on them. And so that's been very helpful. And that's been over the last few years, but it's gotten better because you can't help but think about, I was there and then I did this. Oh my God, no. Especially when they're talking about a resource that caused you harm and they're telling you that same resource caused them harm. It's hard to differentiate the two in terms of pulling yourself back. And so for me, there's been a lot of pulling myself back. My son is here with us tonight. I get my little Ben and Jerry's and line them up in the freezer. And I have my special occasions when I have them. I'm going to have one tonight, as a matter of fact. But it's learning to be okay with not doing all the things.
I love that. And I have to agree. As a therapist, I decompress a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I also do what you're talking about, which is compartmentalization.
Yeah.
Right. Being able to really externalize myself
Mm-hmm.
from the situation and not in a disassociation.
Yeah,
way.
of course.
I can definitely empathize.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But understanding that I'm a resource and my
Mm-hmm.
goal is to be effective and
Mm-hmm.
to share in a way that really encourages people to think.
That's right.
I think more than anything else is to really encourage people to think and to remind them of where and how they can take their power back.
Yeah,
earlier today on 365 Dad, Marv had talked about that, him and Xavier, about personal power.
Yeah.
And we call it self-agency.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you really come down to it, no matter what the situation is to remind people of where their power lies.
That's right.
Even the situations where you feel like you're so powerless, it's just because you're probably overwhelmed that you can't see. You're out, right? And so often that out is like right there and the light is right there, but you're afraid of what's on the other side.
Yeah.
That sometimes you stay in what's familiar to you, even though it's unhealthy.
Yeah. You're saying something similar to what we say to those that we support is you got to keep your head up in the fight, right? When we put our head down, we're thinking about a certain thing and we're expecting the same outcome all the time.
Right.
And so you have to keep your head up in the fight. You have to keep your head up to know what's coming, how to respond, what you blocking, and what to allow in. Because sometimes we think about people who want to help us right away. We start thinking about, what they trying to do. They trying to be nosy. They trying to tell my business. They trying to hurt me, because we haven't received that kind of love before. So it could be really weird and feel strange in the beginning.
Right.
So when you keep your head up and you have your light on, you can discern that.
Right. And you can actually, protect yourself.
That's right.
Strategically.
That's right.
They also mentioned something that, when you think about turn the other cheek, right? And I love the way it was framed earlier today, that it wasn't about taking something. It was about using your other cheek that wasn't harmed and is not inflamed and is not hot. Your other cheek can do the fighting because it's not hurting.
That's right.
And I said, thank you for that, Xavier. That was a great way to look at it. Because often you're like, I'm not going to be turning the other cheek. Right? But it's really about how do you fight back strategically. And that's not physically with your hands. Sometimes it's with your pen. There's a lot of power in being able to sit and write something down.
Trust me.
There's a lot of power in being able to just calm yourself so you can articulate your words. When you're yelling and screaming and crying, people can't hear you. So like once you actually regulate yourself enough to speak up for yourself, you're a powerful person.
That's right.
With your words.
That's right.
And you don't have to yell, you don't have to curse, but you can definitely say some things. And sometimes it's just no.
Yeah.
No. That's what my shirt says today too, y'all. No is a complete sentence. All right, so let's get into my other favorite segment.
Okay.
Which is the bet on self moment.
Okay.
Right? Now, this has been inspired by my own life, my own way of even getting out of my domestic violence situation, and my father said, "Baby, if you bet on yourself, you never lose."
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that was said so many different times. But it's like, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
And if not me, then who?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you think about from a public health standpoint, how important are community-based resources in breaking cycles of violence? And I want you to tie that into your own bet on self moments, because I don't want to tell your bet on self moment, but anyway.
So I'll start off with my bet on self moment. I was sitting in a courtroom at the Dorchester courthouse, and there was another individual before the judge talking about a 209A order, which is a restraining order. And the facts were giving about the circumstance and all the things. And I'm turning to my attorney and student attorneys, and I'm asking questions that they said most people in my circumstance don't ask about somebody else. Like, I was trying to figure out why this was happening to this person in this way, while here I am going through the same things. And so one of the student attorneys turned over and he looked at me and he said, "I think you should be a lawyer." And I'm like, "Yeah, but why this is happening? Like, like what's going on?" And I didn't think anything about it. So when you talk about bet on self, when I was going through the domestic abuse, I was an early childhood educator. Been doing that for many years. That was my life. I loved it. I could do it with my eyes closed. Didn't think anything else needed to change, right? Or I needed to do anything different. When I was in the situation of navigating the criminal legal system and seeing what I was seeing, that's when I had to bet on self and listen to that former student attorney's words about becoming a lawyer. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to school and study criminal justice. And I did that. You mentioned earlier, graduating summa cum laude. That is one of the biggest bet on self, because I think it really gave me insight on what happens on the other side of these type of situations. We know the stories, right? We know how people get, abused, and it can happen to men and women and children. We know all that, but we don't know what it takes to actually have to make that call, file those reports, go back and forth to court continuously, and not be believed over and over again until something major happens, while it's all major, right? So that was my biggest bet on self, on top of, and early on, telling my story in the beginning, not knowing it was going to lead me to where I am today. So for me, that's one of my biggest bet on self moments.
Classic woman too. Supposed to be there for you, and you advocated for something.
I was ready to be like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, why they not listening? Why they keep shutting her out?" But that's how it happened. And my student attorney was like, he just paused for a minute, like, "Yeah, you this is what you need to be doing, because you're asking questions that lawyers are asking." Right. And I didn't even realize that was happening. But anyway, when it comes to a public health perspective, and what that means for this work, it is one of those things where we have to really recognize that intimate partner violence is a social determinant of health, right? It is one of those situations where we cannot turn the other cheek and turn a blind eye to what is happening. We can no longer play as if this issue is not an endemic, that it's not affecting everybody we know. We also need to look at where our resources are going. When we think about the issue of intimate partner violence and where people are going for resources, there's this very siloed community of where it's happening and where it's not happening. And so we look at, from a public health perspective, how, individuals who are raised in certain communities where this is the norm, when it happens to us, it's like, okay, we're gonna go through this and ride it out. But when it's something that is like, wait a minute, that's dangerous, and we have that language, because you said words matter, then we can start to put things in perspective, like, wait a minute, this shouldn't even be happening. And now I can be comfortable with looking for support. And so from a public health perspective, my biggest call to action is that our city and state recognizes intimate partner violence as a social determinant of health.
And I have to second that, ditto that, because I think when we think about being able to be soft, when we think about being able to take care of yourself, Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about this exact thing. If safety, the basic safety, access, and feeling comfortable is threatened,
that's right.
How do you relax, right? And the idea of even being soft is about relaxing. It's about self-care. It's about emotional intelligence, as we said, intentional peace. You can't have any of those things if you're in constant fear and you're in constant trauma and your basic needs are not being taken care of. If there's no resources to help you feel safe. For those women that feel like they have to save, because how are they going to take care of themselves? And so we have to be really mindful of the messaging that we give women, especially around this whole soft girl era, that could put them in these positions where they have no resources, right? And they can't leave something because they don't have a career, they don't have money, they rely 100% on their partner, right? Like, how do you therefore get yourself out of something unhealthy unless there's a community,
that's right,
right? A tribe that's going to come in and give you a soft landing, right? And so that's why those resources are so important, because there are a lot of women who that is the dynamic. They are not the sole breadwinners. Everything is provided by that partner. How do you get out?
I'm being led to say that yes, we're talking about soft girl era, but I have to also say that there are a lot of men who want to experience their softness, but society and women and life and this historical
only
factors.
Reason why I ain't bringing them up, because it's women's history.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But we
but we know that the men wanted to.
We know they wanted to.
Right.
I say that because, right, at the end of the day, we're moms and we have sons. And when I think about what my son is witnessing, because I think I'm a hell of an example, right? But I want him to know that you're also supposed to be safe in your body. While I'm teaching my daughters that it's not okay for a man to put their hands on you, I'm teaching my son that it's not okay for a woman to do the same. I'm teaching my son that it's okay to, not be the hard body and not to be soft, right? To be vulnerable and be okay to be in that.
Feelings,
that's right.
And also to have a partner that can understand that. Again, I'm talking about perpetuated ideologies of what a man and a woman is. So a man traditionally is told to be masculine, be a provider,
That's right.
Be strong too, and not to show any weakness, not to show any
no
feelings,
cry.
right? Don't cry. And a woman is also taught, be soft. Don't say nothing.
Don't
keep
say
your
nothing.
mouth
You
closed,
sit there and be cute.
Be quiet, be demure, but let the man take care of you. There's a lot of dynamics where both parties are not being taught to be vulnerable and to really say what it is and what they really need. And to be okay with saying, hey, I would like a career. I don't want to have kids.
That's right.
Yes, I want a partner, but I don't want to you to do everything for me. Right? I just think giving space for people to be able to have voice.
That's right.
Is part of being soft, right? And again, it's not a weakness. It's just allowing that vulnerability to come through. And I don't know, soft just makes me feel happy. It makes me feel safe. It makes me want to hug up on. It doesn't have to be this bad thing. Right. And I'm still strong too.
Right. Hella strong.
Okay. All right. I'm both things. Which takes us to our final category or final segment or whatever you want to call these little moments that I have in the show. Coach's Corner. Right? I had ran across a video of men in particular, and they talked about therapy. And therapy being the space that you go to when you've been fighting, because life is no matter how you look at it, life makes you have to
you gotta
fight through
sometimes.
right
You gotta fight
so when you come to therapy, it's like going into the corner right with your therapist, and you're talking about, and she's like, okay, or he's like, all right, when you go in next time, make sure you block, make sure you bob and weave, right? And so Coach's Corner is like, as we end this conversation, is really being able to give some nuggets about what we want people to take away from this conversation. I have a unique way of taking these terms, right? Because people are saying it and really connecting it and making people look at it from a different perspective, and also understand, where is it coming from? Why are we even talking about soft girl era?
Right.
Like, why do we even need to say that? But if you understand,
if you understand the history,
then you'll understand why women are like, no, this is my soft girl era. But we're gonna have to do the station ID. I know it's gonna come up in like 2 minutes, so at the top of the hour. But what do you want people to take away in terms of thriving, right? Because we want to move them past just survivors. I know that they're survivors, but a lot of people have already come on the other side, and they on the other side. And how do they stay in this place of understanding their power?
In terms of a takeaway and how do you stay in a place of power, is to think about your future self. To think about, I saw something the other day, Viola Davis said, when she goes into character mode, she writes a bio about that character, who that person is, what they like, what makes them upset, what's their favorite color, and all those things. And so once you get to this place of being on the other side, you're building your bio as you're doing the work. And so it's thinking about what legacy you want to leave behind. A lot of people know me as Shaquera's story. And so what is the story that you want people to say after the fact, regardless of the trauma, regardless of the, the challenging experiences? What do you want people to remember you as? And so when you think about that, it keeps you in the place of, I have a goal, or a place that I'm trying to get to, where I'm not just checking a box, right? I'm not just saying I did all these things, where I'm actively doing the work to really help and really be a beacon of hope for somebody else who's watching, because somebody's always watching. But also too, in terms of the inner child healing, what does that inner person want, right? Mm-hmm. What is the overall thing that you're trying to achieve? And think about that. Think about your why as to why you're doing the work that you're doing. And also too, think about the people who are coming behind you. Because I often think about, what legacy am I leaving? What path am I building that someone else will be able to follow or want to follow? Mm-hmm. And so when you think in that mindset, you think about who you're responsible to.
Yes. Shout out to Mr. Mark Harris. I miss you, and I hope you are healing and recovering well. So, yes, you said so much just now, which really resonates, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of being able to move forward and what the nuggets are and what we're asking people to do. And last season, season 8, that was what the whole season was about. What legacy are you leaving behind? Yeah. And you saying that just brings me back to the whole milestone, mm-hmm. and understanding the origins of things.
That's right.
Like, again, challenging what's not real, mm-hmm. but understanding, like, everything that you consume, you have to fact check.
That's right.
Right? Don't take anything at face value, mm-hmm. but also be open to understand that your past experiences are just that, past experiences.
Yeah.
That's no indicator that that's what the future mm-hmm. holds, but it gives you data points.
That's right.
And it helps you grow, mm-hmm. and it helps you understand yourself more, what you want, what you don't want, what you like. Mm-hmm. That's really all it is this data.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to sort of leave with people is, I don't want folks to be scared.
That's right.
Right? I don't want you to let life put you in a box and make you afraid. Mm-hmm. Like me with dogs and me swimming. I'm going to learn to swim this year. I'm tired of being afraid mm-hmm. of swimming, mm-hmm. right? I'm tired of being afraid of dogs. I'm going to find me a dog whisperer or somebody. How do you decide, this is not going to hold me prisoner anymore? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to allow this to dysregulate my nervous system anymore. I'm not mm-hmm. going to be walking around anxious anymore. I'm not going to be walking around afraid and angry anymore. If these emotions don't serve you mm-hmm. anymore, how can you change your relationship with them? And that's really what I hope people will take away. I think mm-hmm. soft girl ever, or soft being soft, invites you to be vulnerable and change your relationship mm-hmm. with the things that once hurt you.
That's right.
The things that once traumatized you.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to reframe it and realize that was a person
mm-hmm.
that did that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That person is no longer here. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have those be a part of your inner spirit anymore. You mm-hmm. can actually unlearn it.
Yeah. And going back to the places, and it doesn't always have to be physically going back to the places, but going back to the places where you cried the most, right? That thing that you worried about the most, and maybe writing about it, journaling about it, and talking yourself through it, that you've overcome it. And then, sometimes recognizing actually what happened, and then how you want to prevent it from happening again can be helpful to make sure that you're cognizant of those red flags, whether it's relationship, work-wise, whatever, right? But for me, going back to those places in my childhood where I didn't have, this ability to speak up and say what I wanted from what I didn't want it, or having to be something that, I needed to be in order to survive. Knowing that today I don't have to be that person, and I don't need anybody's permission, or I don't need anybody to recognize that I'm no longer that person for me to feel whole. And so it's not easy for all of us, But my hope is that for those that are watching, that they can look at us and see we're real examples of this possibility, right?
Absolutely.
And then that they could look at us and they could think about people that they're directly connected to. Like, I have a Lakeisha, I have a Shaquera in my life that, you know, I can tap into. And so it's really tapping into the village and the people that are around you. And I'm also being led to talk about, you know, you have the relationships with people that either you want to have or they want to have. And being able to discern between the two is also helpful. Yeah. Because overplaying opposition in anybody's life, we're not doing that in 2026.
That's not
we're not doing that. That's not a part of the soft girl era. We got to know when it's time to move yourself from the table. Right. And so we're going to lead with that. Know when to get your ass up from the table.
Oh, exactly. So you guys have been tuned into Conversations with Coach La. I am your favorite around the way therapist. Every Sunday, 10 p.m., we do a virtual couch. Shout out to everybody on Instagram. Y'all are showing up and showing out. YouTube, Facebook, and iHeartRadio. Also, I'm on Twitch. Y'all didn't know that. My son told me to get on Twitch. So I think I was being trolled earlier from some people on Twitch. But
no.
I see y'all. I'm not answering these questions, y'all, because y'all trolling me. But really, this is just an opportunity to get everyone to think.
Yeah.
Right? Just shifting your perspective and just, you know, considering other ways of looking at things, right? And last but not least, I hope you'll come back next Sunday for another virtual couch. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow to the Morning Cafe. And remember, Boston has Black radio, baby, and it's the Urban Heat right here on iHeartRadio. We are Boston's only Black-owned radio station that is on the iHeartRadio platform. So thank you, Ms. Shaquera. Any shout outs you got for
Thank you
anybody?
for having me. I want to shout out one of my co-founders. I see her on Instagram. Cully, I see you. Jasmine, I see you. I want to shout out my son who is here with me tonight. My beautiful children, the rest of my team, our other co-founder, Adriana, Vlad, Rob, Jasmine, Mithael. Oh my God, so many people. So many people, all of our team. I want to shout everybody out. And to learn more about us, please visit our website at shakirastory.org.
Yes. Thank you also for your comment about Grandmother's Hands. I forgot about that book on Instagram. Made a comment about that book. That's another really good book to read. And at the end of the day, right, we just encourage you to tap into resources, tap into me, tap into Shaquera's story, and, you know, continue to bet on yourself and realize you've survived 100% of your worst days.
That's right.
And you have more power within you than you know. And till next week, everybody, y'all have a great evening and good night.
Nancy, Smokehouse, it's the Urban Heat. Shout out to Coach La. Coach La, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the Urban Heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La, 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 la. Conversations with Coach La, 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 la. If you got something on your mind, you can call him, you can hit a line. She the realest, ooh, she the realest. You can tap in, loud, always get a business to empower you so that you can do every and anything that you want to. Kicking it with Coach La, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the Urban Heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La, 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 conversations with Coach La, 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 la. Nancy, Smokehouse. It's the urban heat. Shout out to Coach Live. Coach LA, it's time to listen to conversations that's gonna keep you winning. Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on the urban heat, just call it. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. Conversations with Coach La 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 La. If you got something on your mind, you can call him, you can hit a line.